Wait, hold on. Okay, Edward's in it.
ASMR.
Welcome back to the Chatterbox. It has been a while.
I know, it's been like 2 weeks.
It's been a hot minute. A lot has happened in the last 2 weeks. Really quick, 2-second rundown what happened in your life in the last 2 weeks.
Went home, watched a lot of soccer, said hello to my family, my brothers, hung out with this classy gal, and bought a lot of snowboarding stuff that I don't even know how to use.
So really quick 2-second recap.
Anyways, continue.
My recap is I got done a long paper. I sadly went into depression mode of the Mariners losing. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay. So
Also, our drinks are sponsored by Bloom and Poppy, yes.
And Bloom.
Not Poppy, Olipop. I lied. I'm such a liar.
That's okay. Low-key like Poppy better. Anyways.
Agreed.
So, this reading was very interesting, and I first was not I thought at the beginning I would not agree with the hypothesis and what this was saying, but actually I at the end went, yeah, I understand it. So, what was the most interesting thing to you, Bronte?
The most interesting thing for me is the middleman aspect. So the aspect of the communication and all of that with with you're connected to people. If you're connected enough, you're gonna know that information.
Yeah.
If it's from the top of the person, the CEO in the aspect, you could potentially say, to the aspect of the people that are grabbing your coffee every single day for you, the assistant aspect. Because if you gain enough trust from both ends, you have a lot more power than you think you could or should have.
Well, and I think you see that in your RA because you get to see your residents, but then you also talk to your AC, and so then you see both sides of how the best of people, but you also see the worst of people being the middleman. I think the most interesting thing for me was it's harder to replace someone like if you have like an employee that's like, man, if they ever left, like my life would be so hard, like them being hard to replace. That actually means you have way more power, and like I think about like you have way more negotiable power as well, being like, oh, you wanna like fire me, or like I have a better offer or something. It's like you have more of that negotiate. There you go. Yeah. Anyways, I can't say that word twice in a row, I guess. So I just thought that was really interesting because I think I see like people in my life like that. I think, and also in some of my jobs, maybe I have that potentially. I just have to think about that a little bit more. Anyways, and like I want to go into like how I see that in my own life, because I think about kind of what Bronte was saying in the beginning of like the middleman. Like I saw that a lot with my job this past summer because like I wasn't an intern, but I wasn't a director in the ministry, and I was like a support staff role, so I was in between. And like the interns didn't want to go to my bosses to be like, hey, I'm struggling, or I'm overworked, or I don't want to build a house tomorrow, like I'm blah blah blah. But then the directors would be like, so you're kind of the insider man, like what's going on with the interns? And I'm like, well, this person's struggling. I think these two want to date each other, but that's a big no-no. Or like something like that. So like our weekly meetings would be about that. And so like, or when I'd be like, hey, the interns are being really overworked. Like I think we need to let them cut them some slack. Like I was the one who could bring change because I had the most power because I had the most information, which I guess I didn't. I think subconsciously I knew the more information you have, the more power you have. But I think until reading this, I'm like, oh, I guess it's not like, yes, in the latter role, that does mean something, but really, the top people might not have all the information, and they might not have the most power. So
mic drop.
Yeah. So how can real organizations learn from these principles, Bronte?
Well, back to the classic RA role. Shocker. I think it's something that could be used. So I this year sort of put this plan in
This
place.
is a very small couch. I just realized this. But anyways,
It's a love seat.
okay, Bronte, no.
That's what it's called.
I know it
Anyways.
is, but why?
Anyways, not her touching Edward in the background. That's awkward. Just kidding.
My life is awkward.
So it's pretty much so a bunch of RAs, like I know a lot of them this year, and they were talking about how like they want to connect people like from different buildings and do like a whole Whitworth prime time pretty much for like from each building, like people come together and do this giant thing. So I talked to a bunch of people being like, hey, if this was possible, like, would you join? Like, would you want to do this for one of your prime times? And so they were like, oh yeah. So then I took this step and I talked to my AC and my team first to get a deeper dive of how we could go around this and all this. And then I went up and talked to the big bosses. So I talked to all the ACs and then their boss.
Krista.
Love her to death. And sort of was like, this is the plan that we want to do. Is this possible? What do we think? Give all details. And there was definitely feedback being like, they're like, doesn't work, this doesn't, but they're like, we're going to support you and we want to support you through every step of everything, which I thought that was really cool. And that's normally what you don't see, I feel like, because of the fact of, oh, you can solve it yourself sort of thing.
Well, also I think it showed you had initiative too, which I think that's how you can bring change, and that's how you can actually have good power, is if you use it to put forward initiatives. Whereas I think sometimes when people think, oh, they have the most power, it might be a negative connotation, but you had the most power. You go, how can I help Whitworth grow in community better? And I think I'm proud of you for doing that.
Oh,
And so, yeah. Anything that we disagreed with, I think Bronte and I could talk about this. It wasn't necessarily anything in the reading we necessarily disagreed with, but I think I struggle, and it's true, but I just struggle with the idea of the more information you have, the more power you have, because there's not evil people, but we're all sinful creatures. And so if information goes in the wrong hands, then it can make your life harder. And I think, like, I don't know. I just think about that, and it's just like, or like people who you just don't agree with, like they might not be evil, it's just something you don't agree with, and then they change the atmosphere because of their information. And it's like I think like not just one side of it is the right answer. I think on some things, like if you want to bring change, just getting one information on one side might not be you're not getting the whole holistic view.
Yeah.
And then you're enacting change, and then it's like, well, I don't think you saw the whole picture. And so I think like bringing it back to like leadership is like dialogue is important, because everyone is truly different, and so you need to have that conversation of dialogue and keep getting dialogue. And I think we get stagnant in that in society, especially when we bring change, because it's like, oh, we see one thing, oh, that worked, let's go. And it's like, that was for a niche thing. It could work, but it might not work. And so that was a kind of a big word vomit that I hope showed something.
Adding on to it, I definitely think I totally agree with everything that she just said, but not if you get information, it's not that you're just in power. Like,
that's true.
Like, for me at work, for Little Garden, I've worked there for such a long time. But if I get information, it's not like I can go and be like, oh, I know all this, I can manipulate them to do all this stuff, or like go through it all.
But can I also say one thing too about how it also said this in the reading of the more, like, what brings power also is how long you've been. And you've said to me, like, you have more maybe positioning power in work
Yes.
because, like, you've been there one of the longest times. And so it's like, oh, I need this weekend off. Oh, your boss is going to let you get that off.
That's
Whereas our friends,
Mm-hmm.
like, they just joined and they don't have as much they don't have much power to get the time off they need.
Yeah. Yes.
So
that's very true.
I mean that's not the only thing it talked about in the reading. Like, not just information. I think that's just what stood out to us. But I think, like, I would say I have a little bit more power at work than I think I do because I've been there for 3 years. So
Exactly.
yeah. So anyways, I wasn't trying to steal your thunder. I was just
No,
thinking about
exactly
that.
what you said.
Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about that before we go on to the last question?
No, I was just gonna ask you about
Okay.
the last question.
Yeah, so is there anything you've worked on and then with the tools we've learned?
Well, with like the 5 to 10 positive aspect, I mean, we have been on break.
Yes.
So that has been a little difficult, but I also like in the aspect of seeing my family and hanging out with them. The 5 to 10 was very empowering because it's like, yes, these people have seen you for this amount of time and all of this, but they don't actually know who you are because you've been gone for such a long time. So like having those compliments and wanting to help and doing all those things, you sort of could see this aspect that was happening in all of that.
Yeah. I also think Bronte helped me today. I kind of spiraled. And it was pretty an ugly cry spiral, but we're all good now. And I think Bronte, what?
I was saying it wasn't an ugly spiral.
It felt like it was. Anyways, but I think, like, this is not explicitly a tool that it is, but I do think it, like, complements all of them together. Of, like, I was struggling with an idea of just change. I don't like change. And so it was like, Bronte was like, think about why you love this job, or if you don't like this job, and like do a pros and cons list, and like kind of reframing my mind of like, no, look for the good in the next week, and like write that down, but also on the same point, like, if there's things that make you a little bit uneasy, like write that down as well, but make sure to look at the positives to see, are there really positives? And she knew that there was positives, I just wasn't looking for them. Because I've been in this little like rut or whatever. So I just think that was a tool Bronte used on me that I will start tomorrow. And so yeah. Anything else you want to say?
No, I think you said it all.
Also, sorry we weren't as chatty today, but we're both tired and midterms and yeah. But doesn't mean we don't love this any less. It's just, I don't know. I feel like this was also straight to the point.
Because sometimes we can.
Yeah. Anyways, do you want to do the sign off?
This is the Chatterbox podcast with Bronte and
Jules and Dino and
Edward.
Wait, no, say it. Sparkles. Okay. Oh, and Cody.
Cody.
All right. Bye.
Signing off.